Hello everybody and welcome back. My name is Kari and today I am doing my worst books of 2019 video. I did manage to narrow this down to about 5 books. Most of the books I read this year were good. As I said in my best books video, not a lot of them had that gut-punching greatness that I look for in my best books, but also not very many of them had the gut-wrenching ache of being absolutely horrible. So when I say worst, what I really mean is / most disappointing, because I had expectations of any sort for these books and they just really didn't meet them. Some of them I do have problems with, but I will either link the video where I talk about those down below or explain. Let's get started. The first one is one I read on Kindle or audiobook rather, and that is Quest of Heroes by Morgan Rice. I gave this one a 2 stars, and for the life of me I can't remember what it was about, why I read it, or anything like that. Quest of Heroes is a coming-of-age story of a 14-year-old boy who learns he has mysterious powers he doesn't understand. And apparently there's dragons and magic. The fact that I don't remember having read this tells me that it was not a good book. I remember thinking that it was just not well written and that the plot was not very good either. If I can get my Goodreads to work faster, rather, I will tell you exactly what I thought of it, but let me see. Eventually we will get there. It's just, this is the problem when you read 94 books in a year. You end up with far too many for them to load all at once, because God forbid that should happen. There we go. Okay, it was one of the first books I read last year, and I gave it a 2.5. Oh, that's why. My review is very short because the worse the book, the more I tend to not have much to say. But it used all of the tropes and not well, and it was predictable and the writing was overly basic. So that's what I said. I don't remember really anything about this book, which means that it was very disappointing. Next we have Xena Side by Orson Scott Card, which is the 3rd book in the Ender's Game quartet, and I liked the first one. I enjoyed the second one, and this one was just dull. It was good for about the first 100 pages, but then it started really getting into religion versus science, and it felt like somebody was dropping an anvil on my head to get it through my head, and I didn't need an anvil on my head. I really don't. I just need somebody to put up some nice pictures, and I can study that and figure it out on my own. I'm not stupid. But apparently we're just gonna slam it into your head, and I really didn't like that feeling. This one, the characters also felt like they were making uncharacteristic decisions, which nobody likes, and it felt unrealistic, which is saying something when it's science fiction, because when it's science fiction you make a very clear suspension of disbelief, and it didn't happen in this book, so I think I gave it 2 stars. The next one is Enchanted by Gail Carson Levine. I had high expectations for this one. I expected to really like it and really enjoy it, but it's a bad Beauty and the Beast retelling. Our main character gets turned into an ogre until somebody can fall in love with her as that. It was predictable and overly simply written, and just not... There were characters and plot points in here that didn't need to be in here. The character was just so desperate to be loved that was her main focus. More than anything else, that was her main focus, was I have to find somebody to love me, so I'm gonna fall in love with the first person who walks into me, and I didn't enjoy that even remotely. Like I said, I was really hoping that this one was gonna be good and exciting, but it wasn't. Then we have 5 Dark Fates by Kendare Blake. This is the last book in the 3 Dark Crowns series by her, where we have 3 sisters who are all queens and they have to kill the other 2 to become the ultimate queen. I think the 3rd book was probably my favorite, but I think I only gave that one maybe a 3.5, because while the writing is fine, the plot seems overly contrived. The magic doesn't seem all that well developed, and the characters were just, they felt like they were coming apart in this book rather than coming together, which is what they should have done. And I didn't enjoy that at all. So there's that. This one will be in my December wrap-up though, so if you want to hear some more in-depth thoughts, fresher thoughts, because it's been a month since I read it, I will leave that link down below. And then the last one is the Second Born series, specifically books 2 and 3, which are Traitor Born and Rebel Born by Amy A. Bartol. These books follow our main character, Roselle, who is a second born in a society where you are only allowed to have 2 kids. The first kid inherits everything, the second kid goes into the army. Roselle goes into the army, but because she's the second born of a very high up fate, or politician basically, she becomes a celebrity, and so she goes into war followed by cameras and all that sort of fun stuff. But when she goes into war, she finds out a couple of things about the society at large that really change her mind, and so she's determined eventually to change things. I get on my high horse, or my soapbox rather, I'm not being morally high, I'm just being irritated, in my December wrap-up, which is already linked down below. But suffice to say, combining religion, science, and fantasy all into one without any explanation in books that are 300 pages long, it's not good. There were so many love interests and so much unexplained world not building that these books made me angry, actually. I had high hopes for the first one, didn't meet those hopes. It got better at the end of the first one, so I expected that they would just keep improving, but they didn't. And that was really disappointing to me because I think it could have had the potential to be a good series, but it went in a very strange way, in a very bad way. So that's how I feel about that. Those are my 5 worst books of 2019, and again, by worst I mean most disappointing. Some of them, the plots are actually horrible. The premises might be good, but the plots just fall flat. But for the most part, these are just very disappointing reads because I had expectations that were vastly underwhelmed. That's all I had. If you have any questions, comments, whatever, leave them down in the comments below. I'd love to chat, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!